Good morning, everybody. Hang on, just got a text message. Good morning, everybody. It's Amy Bennett with the AM Show. It is Friday. Yay, we made it. So this morning I'm a little bit late because guess what? I just sent Emma off to her first job. So this summer she has a big babysitting job. She's gonna be doing a couple of times a week, like all day. And so Scott's off today, so he drove her over there. But yeah, she's my big girl, having her first big job. I mean, she's babysat for lots of people several times, but this is her first like consistently planned, you know, babysitting job, like nannying job. Anyway, so she is off to that. So that's what we were doing this morning. Hey Marie, happy Friday. So just to report back on yesterday's session for Jacob, and I just want to say, like, I realized I got off yesterday and it sounded like Jacob is getting like therapy as in counseling. That's not the kind of therapy he's getting. It's like it's actually called neurofeedback, and it's called brain training, and it's to help him with ADD. So I didn't want to like sound like I was, you know, outing my child that he was getting counseling. Not that that's a bad thing at all. It's just a private thing. So anyway, it went really well, and she is already seeing good progress. So that is definitely a praise report. She said, so he's had 2 sessions now. I thought this was his first yesterday, but it's actually his second. I didn't realize he had an appointment on Tuesday. They did some other assessments. I didn't realize they actually did the brain training on Tuesday. But anyway, she said after about 5 sessions, we should be able to start seeing some changes, like outwardly. So I'm really excited about that. Anyway, so this morning, I just want to, and this is what I had to remind myself today, because I was not in a good space this morning. Don't worry about tomorrow. Today has enough troubles of its own. And I don't know about you, but I can get in a space where I'm overthinking, overanalyzing, trying to plan for the future, trying to figure this out and that out. And I had to go back to, there's two books that I would highly recommend. I'm pretty sure I've recommended them before. They're both older, both really popular, so I know it's not gonna be a surprise, but Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. I might have even mentioned that earlier this week, I'm not sure, but it was so huge. She talks about, you know, our mind is where the battlefield is, and she goes through different types of ways that we are thinking, ways that we are, I don't know, thinking in our mind that are unhealthy. And when I read that, I didn't even realize the way I was overanalyzing, overthinking things was a bad thing. Like, I thought it was a good thing that I was thinking through things, but I was, it was to the point where it was unhealthy, and I didn't even realize, and it was a spiritual issue, and God definitely freed me from a lot of that, but I can find myself going back to that sometimes, and I have to like catch it and say, no, that's not healthy. So I think just even having the awareness that our minds are not healthy. Like, we don't even, we only know our own mind, right? We don't know the minds of other people and what that's like, so it's hard to like figure out what's normal. But that book was like very eye-opening to me, to figure out what was normal and what was not normal, and then have like through prayer, like having God deal with that. The other thing that was highly beneficial for me was Boundaries by Henry Cloud, and figuring out, and the phrase that always stuck in my head about that book is everybody has their own backpack to carry. So a lot of people, when you don't have the good boundaries, you're trying to carry, like, we all have our own baggage we need to carry. And a lot of people, including me, try to carry somebody else's baggage in their backpack, and you're not doing yourself a service, and you're not doing the other person a service, because they got to learn how to carry their own backpack, right? So between those two things, you know, I had to go back to those this morning. Like, okay, Amy, what is yours to carry? And when you figure out what's yours to carry, you can quit overanalyzing everything, right? Because God gives you enough to carry your own baggage. And so when you can figure out what's your own baggage and what's your own backpack, then you can usually stop overanalyzing and overthinking, because then you realize you're carrying what you're supposed to, and then God will give you the wisdom on how to do just that, okay? And the reason I was thinking about this, and this is just, and here's the thing, He's gonna give you what you need for today, okay? This is a principle that I've seen over and over, and I was reminded again today as I was reading through, I started reading through the part of the Bible that I'm doing for the 90 days, and there was, where he's talking about Elijah in 1 Kings 16, and God tells Elijah to go hide at a brook, and the brook was going to give him the water, and then he says, I have ordered the ravens to feed you there. And then every morning and every night it says the ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning and bread and meat in the evening. So ravens, y'all just think about that. Like, we have this little birdhouse, and we've got 3 little babies, and you can probably, that was them, if you could just hear that. And man, they're like, and they're these little babies. And the mama, everyone, oh, she's there now. Like, as I'm speaking, this is happening. She's got a little worm in her mouth, and she just flew to the front of the birdhouse and gave her some food. That was happening with Elijah, with ravens. Like, they're bringing him meat and bread. Like, first of all, that's just crazy. And he's drinking out of the water of the brook. So he provided when he needed it, right? God provided the food when he needed it. Then the brook dries up, he has to leave there, and then God tells him, now a widow is going to take care of you. He goes to the widow says, hey, I don't even have enough to take care of myself and my son, how am I going to take care of you? And God says, the jar of flour, so she had a jar of flour and a jug of oil, and he tells her, it will not run dry until the day the Lord gives rain on the land. And then it says, so there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. So God provided miraculously through the widow with the flour and the oil. I don't know how to explain that, how that happens. I talked recently about, and this is a little rabbit hole, but I recently talked about a ministry, oh gosh, I wish I could remember what exact country, but they were giving out pregnancy kits to women. They had 800 to give, I think 500 to give. 500 to give. Oh, I wish I was getting the story right. But then a lot more women came than they had kits for, and the stack never dwindled, and they had 160 kits left over. It was straight up miracle like a couple months ago. So this happens. God can, I don't know how he does it. He just re-ups the supply. You know, he did that with the, the fish and loaves. So this is not new for God. He knows how to do it. Anyway, but the thing, I'm not talking about miracles today, but it's just awesome. The thing that I'm talking about is that God supplied what they needed for the day. This also happened when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, right? They supplied manna. And he said, do not gather more than the day's worth. And it didn't go well for them when they didn't do that. So this is all physical sustenance. And I think what we try to do is to do that spiritually. And we try to gather our peace, and we try to gather our wisdom for things that are happening in the future. And we go over lines like, how is this going to work out? What are we going to do? How am I going to pay for it? Is that person going to be mad at me? Like, what should I do? Like, I mean, we're just over analyzing, we're trying to plan, and we're trying to do these things for things that we're not supposed to worry about today. I totally agree. It's wise to look into the future. I think about Joseph and how he knew that the famine was coming, and he stored up for that coming famine. That was very directed by God. So I get it. I'm not against, looking in the future and planning. But today, let me just tell you what I had to do. I mean, the verse, and the verse that confirms this for me too, is where God says, don't worry about tomorrow. Today has enough trouble of its own. So you know what I did? I got really practical with all of this, and I wrote a label in my journal, today. Like, what do I need to worry about today? I had to get Emma off to her job. We had to help fix her a lunch, and I had to make sure she was up and get her off. I have to work today. There's a couple of phone calls I need to make today. I need to figure out dinner for my family tonight. And there's just some things, and there's some things that I need to plan for the future, but I need to do it today to plan for the future, right? Like, you have to do that with finances. You have to actually think about things that are coming up so you can plan today. But the thing is, I had to come up, what is my list? Not everybody else's. It's not the list of all the worries I have and all the things that need to be figured out. It's my baggage. What was my backpack for today? Sometimes we have to do that per hour. Like, how can I get just through this next hour? I need to get up, I need to get myself ready, and I need to get Emma out the door. Sometimes we only can do that hour by hour by hour. That's the only thing I need to worry about, is this getting through this next hour. But God often does it per day. So today, what is my baggage to carry, and what do I need to worry about? And when you distill it down to just those things, you go, oh, like I can handle that. Like I can work today. I can make that phone call today. I think I can do dinner tonight. And then it becomes something that you don't, like you can let everything else fall aside. And I'm not saying we don't worry about other people. I'm not saying we don't worry about things in our future. But I am saying that we can seek God in the morning to say, what is my job for that today? What is my job for that thing today? Lisa Turkhurst, I was in I went up to Charlotte. She was writing for a book, and she was wanting to get some feedback from a group of people, and I signed up and I went there, and I think I asked her one of the questions, like, how, with everything you have going on, how do you know what to do? And she just said, you ask God every day, what's my thing to do today? And then you do that. So this is not something you have to figure on your own. It's like with wisdom, you let the Holy Spirit guide you every single morning, just like the ravens came in the morning, just like the oil and the flour were refreshed in the morning and fed them, just like the manna came every morning. It's over and over again in Scripture. It is all about daily. Every single day we have to figure out what is our baggage and what is our backpack and what is our things that we need to worry about today. So that was just really practical for me today. Just not getting myself in a negative loop in my mind. I can't tell you how unhealthy that is, how unhealthy worry and anxiety is for your not only your mind, but then that goes into your body. 80% of disease, they say, is due to negative toxic thinking. 80%. So that's huge. It's a huge deal what we're thinking about and how we're thinking about it. So it's a big deal that every day we wake up and ask God, what's my thing for today? And then you let the rest go, and you have to trust a lot. You have to trust a whole lot that God actually knows what you need to worry about today. It's not easy. So that's just where I am this morning. And I hope that encourages you a little bit as you go into your weekend. I don't know what, I mean, everybody's got stuff going on, don't we? Like, we all have our stuff in many different ways. So this is how we get through. We get through sometimes day by day, sometimes hour by hour, and if you need it, minute by minute. And I'm just telling you, God will not go anywhere. God is with you no matter what happens. He will not leave you or forsake you. He is good. He is working all things together. These are all truths that I have to remind myself every day. And that's how the peace comes. That's how the peace comes, is reminding ourselves of the truth, is interrupting the negative toxic thinking and feeding ourselves the truth. Okay. I'm probably getting close. Yep, it's 8 o'clock, so I gotta go. I said good morning to Marie, Susan, Lori, Debbie. Thanks, guys, for joining. I know Fridays, for some reason, are tough for people to get on, but appreciate you joining. Marie says, our new AC is getting installed tomorrow. It's been a long, hot week. I don't know how you're doing it. It's been like in the 90s, and Marie's AC has been out all week. That is crazy. You're still welcome to come take a dip in the pool. We'll be here all weekend. Yeah, for the weekend, I don't think we have anything big planned. I think we're going to be around. Scott will be cleaning up that branch that fell from our front tree. I don't know. We don't have any big plans. So, just going to enjoy his weekend off. So that's it. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Pick up those 2 books, Boundaries, if you haven't read it, Boundaries and Battlefield of the Mind. We're gonna have to like come up with like a Amazon, like AM show, Amazon like book list or something, so everybody can reference all the books I always talk about. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday. Bye.